We'll be discussing the similarities and differences between Louis George and Mamdani.
Yeah, we're joined by former New York City deputy mayor and current Democratic strategist, Tiffany Raspberry. Tiffany, thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning. These comparisons have been made from the very beginning. When Janeese Louis George launched her campaign, she put out a video that looked a lot like Zohran Mamdani's social media messaging. They're both Democratic socialists. What do you make of the comparison between Janeese Louis George and Zohran Mamdani?
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me. I think there are a great deal of similarities between our mayor, Mayor Zohran Mamdani, and Janeese Louis George in D.C. The agenda that she ran on, the coalition that she built a union-strong, progressive coalition of supporters, and she ran on issues that we are similarly facing in New York City, such as childcare, affordable housing, and just protecting the working class citizen.
Well, some of her agenda, she said, includes universal child care, housing costs, stronger labor unions, and some of the challenges that she potentially faces if she is to become the next mayor is a major budget deficit for the district, federal layoffs, the cost of living, and then public safety concerns. How do you think her challenges running Washington, potentially running Washington, could compare to Mamdani's in New York City?
I think there are a lot of similarities. When I served in the Adams administration, we worked quite closely with the mayor of the district. One of the issues that we shared, or challenges that we shared during that time, was the asylum seeker crisis. And so we were in constant communication, sharing best practices, and discussing the issues that we were facing, and coordinating our communications with the government. And so I think that there are lots of similarities between New York City and DC. I think that if Mayor George wins, once the votes are all counted, she and Mayor Mamdani will most likely work very closely together, because many of the issues that Washingtonians are facing are the same issues that New York City residents are facing.
One big difference between the two, obviously, is where they can go for federal help, of course, or statewide help. You know, Zohran Mamdani can turn to Kathy Hochul and say, hey, I've got a great idea here. We're going to need some funding. Let's try to get this done, which he has already done in his short time as mayor. Janeese Louis George going to President Trump for some federal funding may not be received as well as Governor Kathy Hochul receiving a request from Zohran Mamdani. How has Mayor Mamdani sort of balanced, working with Kathy Hochul and trying to deliver his agenda? And how do you think that may compare to some of the challenges Janeese Louis George is going to face with a president who is unfriendly to Democrats, let alone a Democratic socialist?
Well, just taking a step back, I think you've raised a very valid point, but there's no mayor of any major city of America that can completely shut the White House out. And so I think that Mayor Zohran Mamdani realized that, and he has opened a line of communication with President Trump. And I think that it would be to the benefit of Mayor Louis George if she were to win in this upcoming race, if she were to also keep those lines of communications open as well.
President Trump has threatened to take over Washington if Louis George is to win this race. Let's hear what he had to say.
How would you feel if she emerges victorious in next Tuesday's
Well, I wouldn't like it, and maybe we'd take back Washington, run it on the federal basis. We won't put up with it. We're not going to lose our businesses. By the way, Washington now is a safe, beautiful place.
And Louis George has responded to those remarks by the president. Let's hear her response.
I've been very clear that I believe that the president saying that he would harm home rule or revoke home rule based on his opinion of who he wants voters to elect, to me, is an attack on democracy in and of itself. And again, the people of D.C. elect the mayor of D.C.
Mayor Mamdani has kind of done this delicate dance with the president, meeting with him, seemingly winning him over almost in that Oval Office meeting. How do you expect, you said that Louis George, you have to engage with the White House as mayor of Washington. How do you expect her to do that?
I think that she has a mandate from the people of Washington, D.C. They want someone who's going to be a fighter for them. They feel that the president and this administration has been very detrimental to the life and the quality of life that they have in D.C. There are lots of people who feel that way. A majority of federal workers in the District of Columbia are probably of African American or Black descent, who were largely impacted by the DOGE cuts and the job layoffs. And so she is going to have to maintain that fighting stance because that's what the people elected her to do. But she's also going to need to figure out how to work with the administration because unlike Mayor Mamdani, she does not have a governor to go to ask for help. She will need to work in partnership with the White House and with the Congress to make sure that she's able to bring home the resources that she needs for the people of Washington, D.C.
So this was the first election here in D.C. where we have ranked choice voting, and it may not even come to looking at a person's second choice because she may walk away ultimately with 50% of the vote. Mm-hmm. When Mayor Mamdani got started, he did pothole politics where he really focused on delivering basic services. And in many ways, that sort of helped him win over some skeptics there in New York City. Janeese Lewis-George has talked about doing the same thing, the sort of sewer socialism. Do you think basic services, just making sure government can work for the people, is a good place to start before moving on to some of the more ambitious projects that she has, like universal childcare and social housing?
I think that that is correct. When people leave their homes every day, they want to know that they're going to be safe, that their garbage is going to be picked up, that the traffic light on the corner is going to work, that their child is going to be able to go to school and learn effectively. Those are the bread and butter issues that impact everyone's life every day. And so it was smart of Mayor Mamdani to focus on those issues. And like you said, if Janeese is elected, it would be smart of her to also focus on those issues, in addition to tackling the larger social issues that are impacting the people of the city as well.
We've talked a lot about the similarities between Mamdani and Lewis-George. What do you think are some of the differences? How might she manage situations differently than Mayor Mamdani?
Well, I think that in looking at her history and her track record, she served in office for a lot longer. She was elected in 2020, and I think that she probably had a greater connection to the city that she is from than Mayor Mamdani. So that may give her, more goodwill with the people as she figures it out and she grows into this leadership position. It's not hard. It is very hard to be the leader of any major city in America, let alone the nation's capital. And so she's going to face challenges unknown to her or to any of us right now. And so building up that goodwill with her citizens will be the thing that helps her get through those very challenging times.
We got about 30 seconds left, Tiffany. Just want to ask you one more question. Mamdani, when he was running, talked about, yes, my mayorship could be a litmus test when it comes to progressive politics in big cities across the country. Do you think Janeese Lewis-George, if she ultimately does become mayor, will have a similar focus and people will look to D.C. as whether or not progressive politics can actually work in today's America?
I think definitely, and we'll also see what the outcome will be in November in Los Angeles. Right, big cities all over America are exploring the option of electing Democratic Socialist mayors and leaders, and so they all have to demonstrate that they're able to run these cities, that they're able to work with the business community, and that they're able to work with the federal government to get things done. Because ultimately, the same sentiment that elected her or elected Mayor Mamdani and that may elect her in the next few hours or days is the same sentiment that might cause the citizens of D.C. to be angry at her in a year or so when they feel that their needs are not being met.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Tiffany Raspberry, Democratic strategist. We appreciate your time and your insight this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.